Okay, the last set of notes for this week would be the volume notes. So every day if we were at school last week, this is what we would have done. Every single day would have been a different shape, and then Friday would have been volume. So this would be the Friday work. So after this week, you should be caught up from that week that we did miss. And I'm going to come up with another set of videos for next week, and hopefully I can get those posted earlier. If you want to get them taken care of earlier, that's fine. Okay, so volume is the measure of space occupied by a solid region. So it's the space inside the region. So if it's a box of cereal, it's everything inside that box of cereal. It's a box of tissue, it's inside the tissue. The formula for volume of a rectangular prism, even for a cube, it's the same thing. So right here, V is equal to big B, capital B, times H. So V is equal to big B times H. It means the same thing as what you guys did last year. It was volume is equal to length times width times height. But just the big B is really this part right here. Length times width in one letter. Big B is area of the base. So I'm going to write that off to the side. Area of the base of whatever rectangular prism or cube. Because next year, you guys are going to be learning all kinds of other new shapes, and it's big B will always be the area of the base. Okay, so our L would be your length, W would be your width, H would be your height. So no matter really what we're doing, we're multiplying all three numbers in order to find that volume. So the bottom layer, or base, is really your length times width. Length by width. I'm just going to put L by W. So here is your length and your width. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cubes right here, and you have 1, 2, 3 cubes here. So I'm going to say this is my length, which is 4. Over here, this is my width, which is 3. So the area of the base, big B, would be 4 times 3, which is 12. So that's just this part right here, just this layer of cubes. Imagine if we were using those snap cubes in class, it would be the first layer that goes on the bottom, and we would build on top of it to get the volume. So this would be the area of the base, which is 12 cubes. Therefore, the area of the base is 12 units squared, because area is squared. But now in order to get the volume, you have to multiply it by its height. So since there is 2 squares tall, 2 cubes tall, you would take your area of your base and multiply it times your height. So remember this right here, big B was 12. And then you just multiply it by 2 because your height is 2. So 12 times 2 is 24. And these are cubes, so I'm just going to say cubic units. Or you could say 24 units cubed with a little 3 because we're doing volume. So there are 2 layers. The volume of this rectangular prism is 24 units cubed. Okay, so that's width when you have those cubes to count off of and the dimensions aren't given to you. You just count. Okay, so now starting with the problems where they do give you the dimensions, you're doing the same exact thing. Just make sure that you have your base labeled correctly. So I'm going to say that this right here, that this is my base. So there's only one dimension right here given to us, which is this one right here. This is the height of my figure, and from here to here is 4. So that means right here is 4. So my area of my base, big B times A, it would be big B times H. 7 times 4 is big B. And then you would just take that and multiply it times 3. So 7 times 4 is 28. 28 times 3. So I'm going to do that off to the side. 8 times 3, 24. 3 times 2 is 6. Plus 2 is 8. So our volume is 84 meters cubed. With a 3 this time. We're used to putting the 2 because we've been doing area. Okay, so for the second one, identify where your base is. I'm going to say that this right here is my base. And remember what I said, no matter what, we're really just multiplying those three numbers. But right now I'm practicing showing you the base and then the area of the base. So the two dimensions are given to you. So over here we had to infer that the 4 was down here. But here we've got the 7. So our volume is big B times H. So big B, area of the base, would be 10 times 7. And then you're going to take that and multiply it by its height, which is 9. So 10 times 7 is 70. And 70 times 9, so just do 7 times 9, which is 63. And then add a 0 at the end. And it's centimeters cubed. Volume, 630 centimeters cubed. Okay. All right. The last one on this row, we do have some fractions. So if you want to change them into decimals, that's fine with me. We can change them real quick. So the 2.5 feet would be 2.5, because if you have a half of a dollar, you have 50 cents. But I'm just going to leave it as 0.5 because I don't want that extra 0. On this one, you have 4.75, because if you have 4 and 3/4 of something, 3/4 is 75. Now this is your base. So now you're going to multiply it out. Big B times H. So 2.5 times 4. 2.5 times 4. That's like if you have 4 quarters, how much money do you have? And then we got to figure out where a decimal would go. So this would be 20, 10. And then you have one number behind the decimal, so that means there should be one number behind the decimal here. So it's just 10 or 10.0. So I'm going to leave it as 10 because I don't want that decimal, because the 0 has no value for us anyway. Now we're going to take that and multiply it by our 4.75. So 10 times 4.75. That's the last step. So 4.75 times 10. So multiplying times 0, so 0, 0, 0. And then you've got your 0 since we did the 0, and then you got to multiply everything times 1. So this one's pretty easier. It's easier to do than it looks. Then you add 0, 5, 7, 4, and there's 2 numbers behind the decimal. So 2 numbers should be behind your decimal. So the volume of this rectangular prism would be 47.5 or 47 5/10 feet cubed. With a little 3. Okay. All right, so hopefully it seems doable so far. Okay, so number 4, you find your area of your base. So I identify where your base is. Right there. Big B times H. So you're going to find big B first, so it's right there. You're going to do 2.8 times 7 times 7, and then take that and multiply it times 9.5. Okay, so off to the side, 2.8, 2 8/10 times 7, 8 times 7, 56, 7 times 2, 14 plus 5 is 19, and then your one number behind your decimal, so you need one number behind your decimal in your product. Now you're going to take your area of your base, which is 19.6, and multiply it times 9.5. Okay, 9.5. Then you multiply it out. So you have a 3-digit by a 2-digit, so it's going to take a little bit of time for you to do. 6 times 5, 30. 9 times 5 is 45 plus 3 is 48. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 4 is 9. I'm going to add my 0 because I multiplied times 5, and then it's my 9. You got to multiply times 9 now. 9 times 6 is 54. Carry your 5. 9 times 9 is 81 plus 5 is 86. And then 9 times 1 is 9. Plus 8 is 17, and then add to get your sum, or to get your final product. 0, 8 plus 4 is 12, 9, 10, 16, 8, and 1. Okay, so now there's only one number behind the decimal, so the decimal would go right there between the 2 and the 0. So volume is, I'm going to write it right here, 1862. Actually, my decimal's in my wrong spot because I didn't put, did I? Let's double check. So I should have one number here, so I should have two numbers behind my decimal. So that means it would be 186.2 instead. So not there, right there. That sounds right. And this is inches cubed. Okay, anytime I make a mistake in the video, you can send me a message so I'll know. Okay, alright, so on number 5, you count the cubes on the bottom for your area of your base. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 here. And then on the side, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So big B, the area of the base, would be 4 times 6. What's 4 times 6? 24. And then your height, you count how many squares tall this figure is. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 24 times 10, 240 centimeters cubed for your volume. Alright, so the very last one, I'm going to say right here, this is my base. So my dimensions are given. So big B times H, so there's my length, this is my width, and then from here to here, that's my height. So 6.5 times 2. And then multiply it out. You've got 10, carry their 1, 12, 13, and then there's only one number behind the decimal, so it would be 13.0 or just 13. So I'm going to leave it as 13, and then you're going to take that and multiply it times its height, which is 2. So 13 times 2 would be 26. So 26 centimeters cubed. Alright, so hopefully you found it somewhat easy. There's a set of questions also that I want you to try and see how you do on them. And let me know if you have any questions. Alright, guys.